Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, after 5 years, is finally getting DLC in the form of 48 remastered tracks from across the series and a booster course pass all the way to the end of next year. I've talked a lot about the announcement and what about it makes me both excited and inquisitive regarding the entire DLC, but today I wanted to predict what tracks we'll be getting. All 48 tracks coming to the booster course pass, as there's a lot of room and potential picks for tracks spanning more or less 100 different options across the entire Mario Kart series. And to make these predictions a little more interesting and fun, not only will I be predicting what the other 40 courses are, I'll also be predicting which tracks will appear in which cup and in which order in each individual cup. It'll generally be like any other predictions video, to where the vindication will come if said track will appear at all in the DLC in the future, but a little extra spice will be mixed in the concoction if the tracks appear in said cup, and even more if in that order or a specific spot of that cup. Do I expect most of these track predictions to make the cut? Low-key, yes. Do I expect any of the order track predictions for these specific cups to take place as such? Probably not, but it'd make this video a fun rewatch in the future, and it's all in the fun sport of speculation. A lot of Mario Kart tracks yet to be in 8 Deluxe are very fun and enjoyable, so it's going to be pretty shocking if a large chunk of the DLC ends up reviving older tracks that aren't as beloved, well designed, or full of potential to either look as HD as the rest of Mario Kart 8, incorporate any of 8's anti-gravity mechanics, or both. And a few things to keep a note or keep in mind. Our first wave of this DLC comes out in less than a month from now, on March 18th. Those who bought the pass will have access to the Golden Dash Cup with the courses Tour Paris Promenade, 3DS Toad Circuit, N64 Choco Mountain, and Wii Coconut Mall, and the Lucky Cat Cup with Tour Tokyo Blur, DS Shroom Ridge, Gba Sky Garden, and Tour Ninja Hideaway. Past Mario Karts and DLC had certain retro tracks from a single Mario Kart be the only track from that game. Never did 2 or more retro tracks from the same Mario Kart exist in the same cup before. Not only this, but I have a theory as to how they'll organize the DLC tracks. Mario Karts typically, for the most part, organize the cups and tracks with the Mushroom Cup and Shell Cups housing the easiest courses in the game, progressively getting harder and harder per cup. Hence why Special and Lightning usually are the hardest cups in the game, hence why Bowser's Castle and Rainbow Road are always the last tracks and usually the hardest in the game as well. I don't think the DLC will house the exact same method of distribution, but I do think it'll skirt that line in a similar fashion, as the confirmed courses we have and their range in difficulty / elaboration and design is around Mushroom Cup levels of difficulty, with a few like Shroom Ridge and Coconut Mall skirting the Flower Cup area of difficulty. Also, a very loose tinfoil hat type theory, there is usually one track in an existing cup that has some loose tie to the cup's name / theme in question, if not following the same pattern in either that or difficulty, like how there's always a Mario Circuit in the Flower Cup, there's always a Bowser's Castle and a Rainbow Road in the Special Cup, there's always some easy circuit track in the Mushroom Cup, etc. For example, Toad Circuit, a Mushroom Cup track, is now a track in the Golden Dash Cup, Golden Mushroom, like Toad Mushroom Guy. And another key note is the footage of the Golden Dash and Lucky Cat Cups courses shows the courses in Mario Kart Tour's art style and assets, and most of the tracks being used also being playable in Mario Kart Tour, heavily implying a large chunk of this DLC will use tracks, both new tracks and retro tracks, that are also featured in Tour. And lastly, early on, we see some ads for some locales like Mario Kart usually likes to throw in here and there throughout. In the Coconut Mall segment, there's a truck with an ad for Dino Jungle to Mario's left, and behind him are 2 ads particularly for Donut Plains and Vanilla Lake. They could just be easy asset drops and not mean anything as well, but it's still worth noting. With all of that out of the way though, let's get to the predictions. First things first is the Turnip Cup, and my first prediction for the first track of this cup will be SNES Donut Plains 1. Feel like it fits the theme of Turnip more than most other retro tracks. It's a track that's already in Mario Kart Tour, it's got an ad in Coconut Mall, and it's an easy track along the ones already confirmed. Most will probably sink into. It's kind of a fan favorite. People will be moderately excited because it's an SNES track that won't get many changes, if at all, to its original, like Donut Plains 3 and Mario Kart 8. Second track, N64 Koopa Troopa Beach. It's a fan favorite track for Mario Kart 64, a track in Mario Kart Tour, a track that is along that Flower / Mushroom Cup level of difficulty, and would personally fit adequately in Wave 2. The third track of the Turnip Cup will be Tour London Loop. one of Tour's newer tracks, a comfy fit, definitely around Flower Cup difficulty, more of a gut feeling than anything. This is a predictions video after all. And the final track of the Turnip Cup will be 3DS Shy Guy Bazaar. Shy Guy's first debuted in Mario 2, same as Turnips, so there's the association. It's a track that got reused in Mario Kart Tour, and would serve as a solid end to the first cup of Wave 2. On to the Propeller Cup. Starting off will be Wii Mushroom Gorge, another iconic track coming from the era/slash system that introduced the Propeller Mushroom, taking place amongst the skies and mountaintops of giant mushrooms. It'll be a great start to a Cup's theme, befitting of the course itself, on top of being a staple amongst Mario Kart Wii's most popular courses. Second track, Tour Los Angeles Laps, another gut feeling prediction, but given how many tracks are already coming from Tour and how much Tour is being used as a basis, this one making the cut at all seems likely to me, but even in this cup as a second course. Third track for my prediction is N64 Frappe Snowland. It's another fan favorite for Mario Kart 64, it's a track in Mario Kart Tour, and another comfy fit to Wave 2 I feel. Final track prediction for the Propeller Cup and the end of Wave 2 for me will be DS Luigi's Mansion, an iconic track from Mario Kart DS, a track that's in Mario Kart Tour, a track that's in the Mushroom Cups in DS, so it'll be on the easier side, and a track I think would suit a lot of people's needs to end Wave 2. Moving on to Wave 3, the Rock Cup, or Rock Mushroom Cup, I'm assuming Rock Cup. First track, I'm predicting Wii Toad's Factory, a classic fan favorite from Wii, one of the slightly more dynamic and unique tracks to put for the game. Second track for Rock Cup, SNES Vanilla Lake 1, one of the harder tracks for SNES courses, a track in Mario Kart Tour as well, a track with an ad I specified earlier in the video that's in Coconut Mall, but another decent track that'll receive lukewarm reception from the fans of this series. Third course, 3DS Rock Mountain / Alpine Pass, the obvious rock theming's there. It's a track in Mario Kart Tour, a track with dynamic and interesting design, a track I personally believe to be one of the more underlooked or underrepresented tracks in the series and would be a great addition. And the final track prediction for this cup is Gba Sunset Wilds. This track got remade in Mario Kart Tour, it fits the closest to the Rock Mushrooms theme, it's a good remake in my opinion, and would look stellar under proper HD setting with 3 full laps and a full transition from sunset to nighttime. And the second cup for Wave 3 is a Power Moon, the Moon Cup, or Power Moon Cup. I'm assuming it's just going to be called the Moon Cup. First track I'm predicting, it's kind of an obvious one, Tour New York Minute. You'll get that association between New Donk City with this being a cup based off Power Moons from Mario Odyssey, and having a track also based off New York as the starting track. It's got multiple paths, a lot of people will likely enjoy this track in both design and aesthetics. Second course I think they're going to use is N64 Mario Raceway. Iconic amongst the circuits of the series, it'll give Mario a little love in this cup, and this spot feels like a spot where they're gonna throw one of the circuit / raceway tracks, the second course of the Moon Cup, and Mario Raceway feels like the one feel like they would probably pick. Third track, 3DS, Rosalina's Ice World. I feel like it's a well-liked track for Mario Kart 7. I at least like this track a good amount. It got brought back in Mario Kart Tour as well, and will spice up the difficulty as the cup progresses, alongside fitting that mystical space moon-esque theme being tied to the women of the cosmos. And to cap off the Moon Cup and Wave 3, DS Waluigi Pinball. Probably the most iconic track from Mario Kart DS, one of the most popular ones ever in the series. It also got remade in Tour. I feel like this one speaks for itself to why I think this is going to be the last track for the Moon Cup. Making our way halfway through all the DLC total, entering the halfway mark of the predictions, we have the Apple Cup with Wave 4, and a lot of this cup is going off more gut feelings than intuition or educated guessing. First track I'm predicting is DS Figure 8 Circuit, an easy circuit course, a track that low-key could have been in the base game of 8, being designed like a standard 8 like Mario Circuit is, and would serve as a good break from the crazier tracks in previous cups. Second retro course for the Apple Cup, SNES Koopa Troopa Beach 2. It's a track reused in Mario Kart Tour. It and the next track very tin-foiled and loosely tie to Yoshi a little more than other characters besides Koopa Troopa. Again, this one's more of a gut feeling. It's not really a whole lot of logic behind that. Third track, N64 Calamari Desert. A classic from Mario Kart 64. It got reused in Tour. I feel like it would suit this cup well. And the final track for the Apple Cup, and to wrap up half of these predictions, 3DS Wario Shipyard. This course is harder than the ones previously listed to cap off the cup, but not by a huge margin, and would still make for a solid end. It's a track that also got reused in Tour as well. And moving on to the second half of the predictions, the second half of Wave 4, a Boomerang flower likely going to be dubbed the Boomerang Cup. First track for this cup, Gba Cheep Cheep Island. This is a track that got remade in Mario Kart Tour. It's one of the more beloved tracks from Super Circuit alongside Shy Guy Beach, and I believe this would fit very well as a start to this cup. The second track I'm predicting will be DS DK Pass, another iconic track from Mario Kart DS, a fan favorite also brought back in Mario Kart Tour, solid difficulty curve, various slopes, turns, obstacles, etc. DK Pass being in this cup or any of the DLC feels like a no-brainer. Third track I'm going with is GCN Dino Dino Jungle. It got that ad early on in the trailer in Coconut Mall like Donut Plains of Vanilla Lake. It's also in Mario Kart Tour. It's another beloved track from Double Dash and would fit this cup very well. And the last track this cup will end on, I'm predicting, is Tour Vancouver Velocity. As one of the newer tracks from Tour, and in my opinion one of the best ones from Tour, it has enough twists, turns, and an aesthetic to serve as a solidly challenging course for a Boomerang Cup, or a cup based off the Boomerang flower. Wave 5, the Feather Cup, the first track being SNES Mario Circuit 3. Feather first appeared in Super Mario Kart. Mario Circuits from the SNES game are some of the more iconic tracks in the series. Mario Circuit 3 is also in Tour, and it'd be a modest start to a potentially interesting cup. Second track, Tour Sydney Sprint. It's got that funsy, tropical aesthetic alongside being next to an amusement park, a peppy course but fitting for the Feather, and there's not a whole lot of other reasons why I feel like it should be there. I just feel like they're picking Sydney Sprint for this cup. Third track, 3DS Bowser's Castle, a track that got reused at Mario Kart Tour, a solid Bowser's Castle all things considered, but is more on the easier side of which Bowser Castles are the hardest in the series, which is why I'm opting for this one as the third track in the Feather Cup, in favor of the last track for it being DS Airship Fortress, another iconic track from Mario Kart DS, that's also in Tour, a track with more obstacles and hazards and turns. It served as a more fitting and tougher track to end the cup. And the other cup for Wave 5 is a Double Cherry, so the Double Cherry Cup or just the Cherry Cup. Most of the rest of the predictions here on out, I feel like will get more interesting for most viewers watching this. Kicking off the Cherry Cup will be DS Delfino Square. It's a popular track from DS, a solid track in both difficulty and especially design. It'd be a great way to kick off this cup. The second track I'm going with is Wii Koopa Cape. It's another fan favorite, a very interesting one with the water current, the twists and turns. It'd make for a great late game DLC track. The third track for this cup I'm predicting Gcn Wario Coliseum. This is a track that would serve incredibly well given its elaborate design, difficulty, atmosphere and such, and would make plenty of fans happy. But the interesting prediction for this cup is I think it will end on GBA Rainbow Road. Not only is it a very unique Rainbow Road in the sides of almost the entire track have ramps for you to trick off of as well as falling stars to hurt you, but I believe it'd make for a solid conclusion to Wave 5 of the DLC. And entering the final wave of the Booster Course Pass, we have the Super Acorn, likely to be dubbed the Acorn Cup. Starting us off, I'm predicting GCN Mushroom City. That course is a metropolitan labyrinth that would serve as a great course nearing the end of the DLC, with all the paths you could take and all the cars you have to dodge, etc. Second track that would fit the Acorn theme better, Wii Maple Treeway. This is another iconic track that I'm sure a lot of people would love to see return in HD, and coming as a very late addition to the DLC would not surprise me at all, alongside the fact this track is also in Mario Kart Tour. Third track, Gba Lakeside Park. More of a gut feeling on this one, also coincides with the difficulty level since this is one of the hardest tracks in that game, but this would be a very solid track addition that more people might appreciate with its elaborate paths and turns, falling rocks, etc. And the final track I'm predicting will be one of the Bowser Castles, but particularly DS Bowser Castle. This is a Bowser Castle not often revisited, and one of the more unique ones amongst them, with the spinning floor, ceiling flamethrowers, the turning cylinder over a pit. It's a pretty hectic Bowser's Castle, all things considered. And the final cup listed for the DLC is a Blue Shell, or a Spiny Shell, likely going to be called the Spiny Shell Cup. Given this cup is themed after the most infamous item in Mario history, not even just Mario Kart history, and if there's any sort of stratagem to organizing the courses based on difficulty on top of the DLC being a sort of celebration of the Mario Kart series, I'm making the bold prediction every single track in the Spiny Shell Cup is going to be all Rainbow Roads, specifically ordered from first to last, GCN, DS, Wii, and 3DS. You'd not only have a good chunk of the hardest courses in Mario Kart history in one cup, themed after the most brutal item in Mario Kart history. Why wouldn't you want to throw the hardest courses in there? but the Rainbow Roads listed are relatively distinct from one another. GCN and DS Rainbow Road I can imagine blending together initially, with the cup having the potential problem of getting stale, having nothing but Rainbow Roads, but each Rainbow Road listed has different twists, turns, obstacles, set pieces. Double Dash's Rainbow Road has falling stars that you pick up as a star item compared to GBA's, which is a hazard. It's a Rainbow Road above a city that'll be 3 laps, unlike N64 Rainbow Road in this game. The cannon, the 2 spirals, the giant items floating around the track. It'll be distinct enough from the other ones, I feel, to where it and the others won't collide and make the cup feel stale. DS Rainbow Road I feel like will be the more standard one, as it has the twists and the spiral, but it also has the loop-de-loop and corkscrew, to where they have to design anti-gravity into it for it to work. Wii's Rainbow Road will be completely fine on account, I'm fairly sure most people can agree, it's the hardest Rainbow Road. Its sheer design, thin roads and turns, its cannon, split paths, the half pipes as well, etc. I think Wii's Rainbow Road has a special legacy all on its own, and 7's Rainbow Road is not only a more pleasant track as far as difficulty compared to the other ones, but it's also the most dynamic of the Rainbow Roads, the most iconic, and the most popular and spectacular out of all of them. At the very least on par with the likes of N64's, Wii's, and GCN's, on top of being a 1-lap track, to where I think it'd be a perfect track to end all the DLC of Mario Kart 8 in 2023. It also helps they revive this specific Rainbow Road in Mario Kart Tour, which does look amazing in that game. And there you have it, that's my whole prediction list of the remaining 40 tracks coming throughout the next year and a half or so for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pass. 4 SNES tracks, 4 N64 tracks, 4 GBA tracks, 4 GCN tracks, 8 DS tracks, 5 Wii tracks, 6 3DS tracks, and 5 tour tracks amongst the predictions. And adding the Wave 1 courses we do know of, it add up to 5 N64 tracks, 5 GBA tracks, 9 DS tracks, 6 Wii tracks, 7 3DS tracks, and 8 tour tracks. Do I expect every course on this list to make the cut? Do I even expect a handful of these tracks to appear in that specific cup, in that specific order or spot? No and no. But not only do I expect at least half of the courses I listed off to appear at all in the DLC, Mario Kart has such a wide array of tracks, and plenty I didn't even mention, like Wii Daisy Circuit, the GBA Bowser Castles, GCN Mario Circuit, N64 Moo Moo Farm, Wii Dry Dry Ruins, Moonview Highway, and more, that if those get chosen over others, or the predicted tracks get mixed around in other cups in different orders, it's going to be really hard for me to be upset over which tracks I got wrong or didn't make the cut. And I feel like I've made a very solid, largely, balanced predictions list without going too heavy on some biases. I'm aware I predicted a lot of tracks that exist in Tour. 26 of the tracks I predicted are tracks that are in Tour. 21 if we're omitting the new ones unique to Tour like Vancouver or Sydney. But we have a lot of tracks that are in Mario Kart Tour already confirmed for Wave 1 as is, so it's to be expected at this point. And I did at least predict 14 tracks not in Tour as tracks for this DLC. Almost half if we played semantics. Any of my predictions you agree or disagree with? Any general prediction patterns or theories you also agree but apply differently? What are your expectations or predictions for the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all the next time I do some other kind of Mario Kart content. Will it be that tour rant video? Maybe my 8 Deluxe Let's Play making a comeback? Will I try my hand at Mario Kart Wii's Online after 12 years of not doing it? Or go straight to the custom tracks for the first time? You'll just have to wait and see. Stay super.
Yo, hey, 妹妹，嘿，我来呀！共和到哈哈呀，拉面，嘿，来面，白哥面，共和再见呀，哈哈，拉面，烫手面，谢谢。